wanna grow up, don't wanna grow up. I don't wanna grow up, don't wanna grow up. I don't wanna grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. There's a million toys at Toys R Us, and I can play with from bikes to trains to video games. It's the biggest toy store there is. I wanna grow up, 'cause in my dreams I couldn't be a Toys R Us kid. I don't wanna grow up, don't wanna grow up. I wanna be a Toys R Us kid.
Hey everyone, good evening. Sorry I'm uploading pretty late, but I wanted to talk about something that's, unrelated to comic book news, and that's the fact that Toys R Us, which is a huge popular toy store that was really big back in the day. We're talking the 90s, 80s, 70s. They've been around for years. They've made an official announcement that they're shutting down, and they announced it today to its employees, specifically the CEO. And I think Toys R Us is one of those things that's just near and deep and close to my heart, because I was part of that generation in the 90s, that I used to always go to Toys R Us, and I used to nag my parents about it. And I have a lot of memories, cherished memories for, going to Toys R Us. And it's kind of sad to see a business fall, especially for something that's been around, almost as long as you have been around, or if anything longer than you, and you grew up with it. And it's really sad. And the worst thing about it is that, sadly, you got to move on from it. And I have to move on from it, obviously. I mean, I'm a grown man, but still, things like that are still near and deep within my heart. And there's a huge sentimental value to it. It's almost like, I don't know, your first dog, your first car, that kind of thing. And it's a part of my childhood. And you all would know what it's like to leave something that was a part of your childhood behind. And Toys R Us was one of those things. And I have many memories of shopping at Toys R Us. I believe I got my first Game Boy at Toys R Us when I was a kid. Toys R Us sold everything. They had toys, games, everything, you name it. And it was the best. And every time I saw those commercials in the 90s for Toys R Us, their very popular ad campaign that they had going on for years called I Don't Want to Grow Up. I mean, here's a clip right here.
I don't wanna grow up, don't wanna grow up. I don't wanna grow up, don't wanna grow up. I don't wanna grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. There's a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. Bikes to trains to video games, it's the biggest toy store there is. I don't wanna grow up, 'cause if I did, I couldn't be a Toys R Us kid. I don't wanna grow up, don't wanna grow up. I wanna be a Toys R Us kid.
Yes, I used to watch those commercials. They were so catchy and they were fun. And I would always bother my parents to take me to Toys R Us because I wanted to look around and get toys. And especially Christmas time, that's when I was asking a lot. And I got a lot of toys from Toys R Us. And it's all thanks to them, because they made my childhood awesome. And I want to say thank you to Toys R Us. It's really sad to see you guys go. Nowadays, I mean, as an adult, I go into a GameStop and that's my Toys R Us, because I'm a gamer, and it's really changed. The world has really changed, especially for kids that I see. When I was growing up, when I was a kid, I would play with things like toys and Game Boys and stuff like that. Now, the average child plays with smartphones and tablets. And rarely do I ever see kids playing with actual dolls or toys or action figures or anything like that, because it's just not in anymore. And the world's changing. Everything's changing. To the way kids play, and to the way we do things, to the way we get by, to the way we communicate. Everything changed. It's such a drastic evolution. It's ridiculous. And I almost feel like in that era, in the 90s and 80s, there was some sort of level of innocence where everything seemed more natural and real. And I sound like a hypocrite, being part of the new millennia. It almost feels pretentious, walking around with these kinds of things and doing everything with this. with smartphones and tablets. But at the same time, it's become this necessity, and it's just a way of life now. Sadly, it's not 1990 anymore. We're in a new age. But I have some quotes here from the Toys R Us company, from the CEO, about Toys R Us shutting down all of its 800 plus stores in the United States, and supposedly all the stores around Europe and Asia and some other countries there. And it says, Toys R Us is closing or selling all of its over 800 remaining U.S. stores, according to a report from the Washington Post, signaling an end of the era for the famous toy store. The news was apparently announced to workers today by CEO David Brandon in ahead of a bankruptcy court hearing on March 15th, which is today. In a later conference call with staff, Brandon apparently pinned the blame on vendors and customers who failed to support Toys R Us during the holiday season, typically the busiest and most lucrative time of the year for the company. Ominously, intoning that they will all live to regret what's happening here. It's not only U.S. stores that are likely to be affected. Stores in France, Spain, Poland, and Australia will likely be liquidated, while the company is still looking to sell Toys R Us stores in Canada, Central Europe, and Asia, assuming it can find a buyer. Toys R Us has been circling doom for a while now, with the company filing for bankruptcy last September with more than $5 billion in debt. That was followed by holiday sales this year that Brandon reportedly described as no short of devastating, with the company missing its usual $600 million earnings by more than half. So there you have it, the report. We all knew that this was going to happen eventually. I mean, look what happened to Blockbuster. Netflix blew them out of the water. And look what happened now. Look what's happening to Toys R Us. I actually heard, I first heard this news around September 2017. And it was really sad, honestly. It's one of those stores that's been hanging in there for a long time. And, you got all these stores like Walmart and Amazon and Best Buy and online shopping that are just blowing them out of the water. They've moved on. They're within the new age. Toys R Us hasn't really been moved on. It hasn't they haven't moved on with the new age. They've really stuck within like the 90s and 80s, where they still have the retail stores going on. And I believe they did have an online store, and they do, I think. But the competitors online, like Amazon online is an online store juggernaut, and of course they're gonna blow them out of the water. So yeah, I mean, you can blame on other competitors and consumers and other stuff like that, and other prices too. It truly is sad, saddening to hear a store like this, especially for you people out there that are in your late 20s or 30s, early 30s. It's really sad to see something like this go. It was just as sad when I first heard that Blockbuster went bankrupt. And that was years ago when Netflix was already booming, and now this is happening. And I didn't feel the same sentiment when Radio Shack went out or Circuit City. Even though I used to work for Circuit City, and God, I didn't like working for that place. But I felt the same, just about the same way when Blockbuster went out, because that was the hangout place when people were like coming out of school. You just go to Blockbuster and chill there. I did that a lot in the 90s when I used to go out with my family and friends. In the late 90s, actually, and the early 2000s. Even after school, I took the bus and I'd chill out at Blockbuster to see what's going on. And I'd meet my dad, because my father used to work in front of a Blockbuster at a store that also filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So yeah, a lot of great memories in that store. Toys R Us, it sucks that you guys are going out of business, and you will truly be missed. And to that, I would like to say thank you for the great memories. And with that, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. As always, like this video, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all in the next comic panel.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They got a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They got the best for so much less. You really flipped your lid. From bikes to trains to video games.